Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome back to a new video here on Bitcoin. And therefore also a little bit about the markets as a whole. We're going to do a full update right here. We'll talk a little bit about next week. There are some things regarding next week you need to know, right? Next week is bound to be pretty big, all right? And I know last week was pretty major already as well. But this week we have a lot of news that will matter, all right? Especially for the monetary policy for the US, and that in turn matters a lot. For the financial markets, including Bitcoin, of course. And normally, I mean, what I usually say on a Sunday is expect volatility. Now, I have to say there's some technical reasons why I expect a little bit less volatility, which I know sounds crazy because there is a lot of leverage in the markets, and that is still true. But like I said, there's some technical reasons why I expect less volatility. I mean, the volume right now is at $19.3 billion. That's still relatively high. That's actually positive that it's high. But the higher the volume is, the higher the liquidity usually also is. So that means less volatility. And then there was something else that I wanted to say, but that also, yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the TPO right here, you can see we opened within the value of the last 2 days. And we also had a very wide base. So that's another sign that volatility is going to be a little bit less. But obviously, I mean, if we get any headlines, depending on the US equity opening, that's still going to matter a lot, all right? And Sunday to Monday especially, you should expect volatility, even though technically it looks like it's going to be a relatively quiet open. But all right, so US equities tomorrow will matter again as well. They closed relatively positive, as you can see. It looks most likely we're going to get that move into this level right here at 560, so that's going to be positive for Bitcoin as well. Then last week, of course, we had a massive Coinbase Bitcoin premium. At this point of time, we also still have that, even though it has been decreasing. That's one of the main things you also need to keep an eye on. If this keeps decreasing, that's bearish. If we actually see an increase again on Monday, during the opening of the US markets, that's very, very positive. And then next week, over the course of the week, but before we talk about the technicals for Bitcoin, which obviously also matters, next week we have a lot of economic data, all right? And right now with the import tariffs and just in general the fears around that, the results of this economic data does matter a lot, all right? So on Tuesday we have JOLTS job openings and we have the goods trade balance. Interesting, because that's obviously one of the key reasons why we needed the tariff. So if we see a massive decrease in the deficits, there still is at this point of time, I would consider that bullish. But then on Wednesday we have massive news because we have a core PCE price index, and GDP data and ADP employment change data. So that matters a lot. And then on Thursday, we have initial jobless claims and ISM manufacturing PMI. And then on Friday, we have unemployment rate and non-farm payrolls. All right, so that's 3 days with a lot of economic data that matters. All right, so that's going to affect the markets. Look, I'll keep you updated on that, but you should just be aware that it's happening as well. So far, if we're taking a look at Bitcoin, I would argue we're actually finding some balance right here. Between, well, it's a bit of a strange level, but we're finding some balance ultimately on top of 94,000 and 93,700. That's also the main level we want to hold, all right? And breaking down below that is not the end of the world, as long as we're able to reclaim that, right? So especially on the weekend, getting a bearish breakout doesn't always matter, as long as we're able to reclaim it, right? So that's the main level to hold, just below us right here. Something like this is fine. Let me make this wide, and then ultimately, like I said, we're finding some balance right here between 94,000 and 95,000, deviated above that at one point of time on Saturday, by the way. So what we're looking for is a breakout of that level, all right? And that's going to very much depend on the factors we've talked about before. How do US equities open? Do we still have a Coinbase Bitcoin premium? Do we have a lot of volume going into the markets? If those answers are yes, which they were the case on Friday, so it's best to assume that those answers will still be yes, we can get a move into that second naked POC right here at 96,600. Short term, I expect stability still, but the most likely direction at this point of time still seems to be up. Obviously dependent on those fundamentals we talked about before, but that is the status quo. So those are my thoughts. I think that's what you need to know. For now, thank you for watching. Take care and bye.